I want to thank all of you for being here. This is, I agree, a beautiful book. Every saint on the front is featured inside inside the book. So this is a wonderful, unique icon that's never been written before because of the saints in our book designated how the cover was to be laid out. Our book is the third in a series of 3 that Holy Cross has agreed to help us publish, and I am excited to get your feedback. It is written collaboratively and with great attention to both spiritual accountability to Christ and one another as we were writing this, as well as academic accountability. And so we hope this has been a discipline from the beginning for St. Catherine's Vision, that you will see this in this volume as well. While we're here, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of people that have changed their schedules just to come here, that have been part of our process. We have a couple of authors and at least one collaborator. By the way, I wrote on Saint Xenia of Rome, a 5th century woman who left home with 2 of her servants to find and serve Christ someplace in the unknown, rather than be forced into a marriage where she would be a happy Christian perhaps, but not as happy as she was as her story relates. So you must get the book to read the whole story. Okay.
I want to tell you how exciting it was to collaborate with these women and to go over our writings together. So it was not just we were isolated in a room and writing on our own. So we all together did our chapters. My first was St. Mary Magdalene. The second one was St. Anna from the Testament from Luke, St. Luke's Testament with Simeon. And the third one, and I'm so excited, is a 19th century convert to Orthodoxy, Grand Duchess Elizabeth from Russia, who was also a royal. She was from the royal family. Her sister was Alexandra Romanov. And the couple of things about Grand Duchess Elizabeth that really spoke to my soul was, one, she was a convert and she bridged the East with the West during her life. The second and the most important thing is that she was a chaplain. And after her husband died, she opened a convent. She was a nun. She became a nun. And in that, she had a whole complex of buildings, and one was a hospital. And she took care of the soldiers. Of course, it was during the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. And she took care of the soldiers, the children that were starving. And she was what can I say? She was a Renaissance woman.
The story is as it says on the title, stretching the boundaries of forgiveness. Forgiveness is something very difficult thing to do, because when you forgive somebody, you ultimately make yourself vulnerable. And the process that I went through was very much also healing, because as I wrote down the story the way I perceived it, which is about Saint Marina, who was known, Marinus the monk, very controversial story in a sense, because she was a female, but she joined with her father a male monastery when she was very young because she had lost her mother. And later on she was accused in impregnating a woman, and she was kicked out of the monastery because of that. And she suffered 10 years or more until finally she found forgiveness to return to the monastery, and her mystery was revealed only after her death. As Nikki said, it's a collaborative work, working together, helping each other, discussing with one another, And also the most important aspect, which is kind of the main line in all three volumes, it's not the life of the saint as it was, but it's the life of the saint, how it touches your life, how it makes sense to you. And the reason I wrote this was kind of an accidental thing, why I chose it. I used to drive to work and long distances and listen to stories of the saints and other spiritual literature. And when I heard it, I felt like this story was about me. And I immediately contacted Dr. Fitzgerald and I said, I'll choose Marinus if I can. And that's what happened. And it became, most importantly, a healing process for me to go through and tell my story one more time through the saint's life. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate Dr. Kyriaki, first of all, and all the collaborators for the effort, the support of Father Tom. It is a tremendous undergoing that I was exposed to my first semester at the seminary now 5 years ago. And it was inspirational to me throughout my time at seminary to see the work done by St. Catherine's Vision, which I wish was more well known in the Orthodox world, because it's such a gem that I was fortunate to be exposed to. The work done by the collaborators was intensive. It was over the course of at least 5 years. I'm sure it started before we even came to Boston. And it encouraged me to apply myself even further to academia at the seminary, to the spiritual life at the seminary, because it touched on a portion that Nikki and Father Anthony had mentioned, in that it enlivens part of our faith that sometimes we don't often connect to. And for me and my wife, we'll say that we grew up in a place where the saints were those people over there, and we looked up to them, but we didn't think that we could necessarily become like them. And what this book does is it offers a direct account by each author to say they started in a similar place as me. So it's very much a possibility that we can all strive to continue to grow. And as you see in the chapters, which I do hope that you read and attain a copy of this book, it's important to have on your shelf, you will see that. And also to bring to mind the terrific effort that the women in our church have contributed, both those who are written about and those who are writing. So thank you for being here, and please continue to support the valuable work of St. Catherine's Vision and the scholarship.